What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Volume Podcast. And today scares me a little, but today we're talking about Madam Web. What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Nerdy Volume Podcast. And today, scares me a little, but today we're talking about Madam Web. Whoa, I feel like I already said that once before. Deja vu. This movie stars Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, and is directed by S.J. Clarkson. Oh my gosh, I think I said all those names correct. That's got to be the first time in my entire life. Thanks, dudes, for giving me an easy one this time. But yeah, as always, sit back, relax, and turn it to 11.
Hey, Madam Web, y'all. We had thought about doing this, and I mean, the movie came out in February. You know what I mean? It's been a while.
It's been a while.
We've already passed Easter. You know what I mean? At this point, so I believe that now is a good time to talk about it. So we're gonna be, just kind of going through our impressions of the movie and what we thought was dope and what we thought wasn't dope, and and we'll just dive into it. So let's go. So I want to say, we see Cassie Webb. We get introduced to her. Well, actually, no. We get introduced to her mother.
Yep.
In the jungle. She's pregnant, and I'm just thinking, what's this pregnant lady doing out in the jungle?
Right. I thought the exact same thing.
With a dude named Ezekiel Sims, so to say. But anyway, she's out there looking for a spider, which is the craziest thing because I don't see a lot of people looking for spiders, but I know that there's a lot of arachnophiles out there. I know that they love the love for spiders, so to say. And if you remember seeing that spider in the movie, that bad boy was huge.
Yeah,
huge. And like, it looked like a marble. It looked like a little reddish, almost like those creamsicle lollipops, but a big one.
Exactly.
And then you see that she gets betrayed, obviously, because like homie Ezekiel was like super jittery. He looked like he was on drugs. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, okay, this guy he's super sus, and I believe that something's gonna happen with this. It does. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a duh moment. However, she had a whole team with her, right?
Yeah. Well, my voice cracked there.
and so you see this whole altercation happen. She gets shot, and then a bunch of dudes out of nowhere, just like just felt very almost like what they did with Black Panther. Remember when
I can see
trying to find Wakanda? Yeah. And there's I was like, oh, whoa. And I was like, this is kind of cool. And I was just like, oh, let's see what's going on, right? And then you just see him talking to the mom and going into like, don't worry, when she finds me, I will tell her everything. And I'm like, how's she gonna just find you? I'm like I was just like, how is a kid supposed to figure everything out? But then later on, obviously, you figure out how that's gonna go on. But my first impression was, what is this lady doing out here? And how is this girl going to find this guy? But then I forgot that they have such a small, like, foreshadowing of the mom's notes from when Ezekiel was like looking through everything. You remember? Yeah. And I was like, I guess that counts. But that's what we see in the beginning. And then boom, fast forward, Cassie's all of a sudden in her 30s or late 20s.
Yeah, it's 2003.
2003, yeah. And I'm like, oh snap, you got the flip phone. There wasn't a lot of 2003 memorabilia that I remember. Like I said, I think they had music from that era though, which was cool.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they had some music in that, which was cool. But I'm like,
Waterfalls. Didn't they play Waterfalls? I'm pretty sure they play Waterfalls.
Don't go chasing. Not in 2003. That was like a 2000, maybe 90.
Oh, what song was it then? I thought it was Waterfalls, but you might be right.
I think it was I don't know. We're gonna have to check it again, or we're gonna have to find out. But yeah, they were playing that early 2000s. I thought it was a Michelle Branch song, or maybe a Avril Lavigne song.
Oh, they definitely played one of those. They definitely played one of those.
Things so complicated.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely, I feel like that's a Madam Web song if I ever heard one. Whatever the case was, you just see her going in, and she's an EMT for the fire department of New York, and and they were in the movie. Then I just realized, as you're going throughout the movie, there's not enough how would you say, character. I couldn't relate myself to any of these characters, or I couldn't feel for any of these characters because they felt so. Cassie's mother was probably the only one with real depth in the beginning because, well, she's out there. We don't know why. We got to figure that out. But she was the only one that actually would grow with us as we progress within the movie. However, you see Cassie and Ben Parker in the same ambulance. When I found out that his name was Ben Parker, I was like, anything
What?
with Peter Parker, maybe? I was like, does he have a sister named May? Yeah, or was I
A
was like,
wife. A wife.
wife? Was it wife?
Oh, May is his wife. Auntie May is his
Oh,
wife.
that's right. Well,
His sister's or his brother's sister-in-law, or his sister-in-law is brother's sister-in-law. His sister-in-law is
Mary. Yeah,
Mary.
because she's married to Richard Parker.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So okay, all right. So then interesting. So I like when I found out Ben Parker was his name, I was just like, oh snap! Wait, I didn't know if Madam Web and Peter Parker have anything to do with each other. However, it is possible. I don't remember Ben talking about a May in the movie. I tried to pay attention to a lot of it, but I mean, I can only do so far, or I can only go so far with trying to write down notes while I'm trying to understand the movie.
So he doesn't specify that there's a May, but in like when they get back after like the first scene where they're like at the hospital, they save that mom or whatever, and they go back to their locker room or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He says that he's seen someone seriously, and the implication is it's May that he's seen, right? Which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely. I don't know about you. Well, okay, first of all, I thought to myself, because I thought the Las Arañas, the people, right? The people who saved or didn't, well, saved her, right? But didn't save the mom because she died. Anyways, I was like, because it flashes then to 2003. She's in New York, and I'm like, how did they get her to New York? Because I thought they were like indigenous people, like people, like obviously later on in the movie you find out that the guy who says when she's ready she'll find me or whatever.
He's bilingual.
Yeah. Well, first of all, he's bilingual. So and then also was dressed in like clothes of that time. It wasn't like indigenous clothes or anything like that. So I'm like, oh, I guess they must live in some kind of civilized place where or civilized in the sense that there's roads that will lead them to an airport and not in the middle of the jungle.
right.
But so I was very confused. I was like, how did you get her to New York if you're all just like you live in the forest in the jungle? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But that gets answered. Second of all, I don't know how long it took you, but even like before you even watch this movie, I was like, who's Madam Web? I don't know who this Madam Web is. It kept like, I don't know who Madam Web is. I don't know who Madam Web is. I think it was maybe like 30 minutes into the movie, and it like clicked in my head. And I remember like my wife we were both sitting there, and I'm like, oh, it's Madam Web. And she's like, I don't understand. It's like, Madam Web, she travels through time. She shows up in the end of the cartoon. She's like pretty much the last season of Spider-Man, and she helps Spider-Man, and it's a whole thing. Like, but she's an old lady by then. So it was that's why I didn't catch on that this was the same person.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a long time. I was like, I'm sure there's people out there like, bro, you're an idiot. It took you that long to figure that out. Yes, it did. Okay. I couldn't remember who Madam Web. The last time I saw Madam Web, I was like 8 years old. And I haven't seen her since then. I just remember she had blindfold and she wore like a blackish red uniform, and there's like webs all over behind her, and she could travel through time. That was like all that I remembered about her.
I don't remember anything about her.
Really?
I did see her when we were playing MCP, or what is it, Marvel Crisis Protocol?
Oh yeah,
She's
yeah.
actually a character in the game.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, she's one of the spider or faction. And
the web slingers.
Yeah, the web slingers. Man, Madam Web was one of them. But I think it might have been like an alternative version of her, or an alternate verse. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't know who she was going into it, actually. And so I was expecting to see a really good movie of like some web slinging and stuff like that. I didn't understand how her powers moved. And so yeah. So like Cassie, her understanding of her character was that she's like a loner. She kind of is like put off by the world. She kind of blames the world for her life. She feels like no one loves her, or no one loved her. That's why she was in the foster care for most of her life. And I'm just all like, so are we just gonna get that character, or we're not gonna get like any kind of like growth with her? Like it just happens,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Everything is
yeah,
just
yeah.
happening, and I don't really feel for Cassie as much. And then you meet O'Neill right later on. O'Neill was the one of their colleagues, played by Mike Epps, and he was grilling stuff up, and they had a good old wholesome time, and then all of a sudden, you know what I
He
mean?
dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I should be feeling really sad about this, or at least like gutted in some sort of way. Like for her, I felt just as confused as her. You know what I mean? She's like, "What's going on?" I was like, "Huh."
I don't know.
I was like, "Mr. O'Neill or Mike Epps, sir." I was like, I feel like you needed a little bit more time. And then his wife Susan in the movie, you only hear her mentioned later on. Like you don't hear just like this crazy like distraught wife just going nuts with their kids. I was like, there's nothing. There was nothing for me to latch on to with my heartstrings other than, man, that sucks. That sucks. You lost your friend, even though like you could have just easily waited until the car went right because she knew what was going to happen. I was like,
Yeah.
just like, say, hey, actually, before you go, you know what I mean? Look to the left, vroom, and I was like, actually, you know what? No, never mind. Go.
You can go.
I was just like, maybe that could have worked, but I guess it needed some kind of umph to be like, yo, this is really happening. And I'm just like, oh, I was having a hard time liking that part. I'm just like, I don't know if I can get into this if I can't really latch onto a character. What about you, man?
I can see that. I could definitely see how her character and the other characters too. They were kind of like
Just there.
flat,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, 100%. I will say in her defense, right? Her seeing her vision of O'Neill dying. If that was happening to you and it's like the first time you experienced it, I think you would feel also that you're going crazy. Like, what is going on? Why am I seeing like one moment I'm seeing the guy that I'm trying to save, and then the next moment I'm seeing my boss that's here, and then it's back to the guy that I'm trying to save. Like, and also you have to remember that right before that she fell in the water and died. Right, that's what activated her powers. Right, so and then got brought back to life by Ben, who I don't know if he's always been a paramedic. Was he a paramedic originally? I don't know his backstory because he usually dies pretty early in
retired, I believe.
Yeah, that's also true. Yeah, I was gonna say he dies before Peter ever, like day one of him getting his power.
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of Ben. But yeah, no, definitely. I agree. That it was very like one note, like, what am I supposed to? Kind of jumps right into it. I won't say that I hate it, but I do understand how I have no emotional tides to it yet, right? So what am I supposed to experience out of this? So yeah, 100%. Yeah. So one of the reasons why we're doing this, even though it's so like later in like 2 months after the fact, it's because there were a lot of memes about this. Like there was a lot of I think the Rotten Tomato for this was 12%. It was crazy. It's pretty bad. So I'm like, oh, we gotta watch it. We gotta watch it just because it's bad, right? So that's why we watched it. Can I just say that I'm disappointed because it wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be? personally, I ended the movie and I was like, maybe my expectations were really low, so it like exceeded my expectations or something. I don't know, but I was like, not the worst movie I've ever seen, believe it or not. But there were things definitely that I was just like, what about you? Was it as bad as everybody made it to be? Was it as bad as you expected it?
To be honest, no, it wasn't all that bad. I can't really pinpoint what I thought was bad, other than the character relatability, because I'm just all like, or the character, me and not feeling for these characters. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to be more specific about it. Let's say like the three girls, right? We have Julia, Anya, and Maddie. Those three girls are apparently very important to this storyline with Cassie. And I was like, I don't know why, because all they're doing is literally killing Ezekiel in Ezekiel's mind. We don't know if they actually do that, but he's just going nuts. We later find out that he was cursed by what was the tribe name?
Las Arañas.
Las Arañas. Yes, those guys. So when you find out he was cursed, I was like, so he was just tripping. I was just like, oh my gosh. But I mean, that makes sense because I'll just say he just went crazy. I was like, cool. That's on him. But the girls, I really didn't like. I think the only person that I could get behind was Julia and Maddie, maybe. Like Maddie had parents that were rich, but they weren't home, so she always acted out. And then you had Julia, her parents divorced, mom went crazy. She lives with her dad and a new family, but she's really kind of like
The
off-putting, I guess.
outsider.
Yeah, like yeah. So I'm like, okay, see, and then you have Anya, who I guess her dad deported or something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
she's incredibly smart. I was like, dude, forget. I was like, that's a genius right there. You know what I mean? And I expected her to maybe do like some cool engineering stuff with like, broken stuff, but nah, she was just a regular teen girl, of course, of that era. And then you see the scene where they're in the restaurant and they're all dancing with the boys or whatever. I was like, you wouldn't see that today, but I was like, maybe in 2000s you would.
2003.
Yeah,
you have to remember it's 2003.
Early 2000s for sure. Not saying it's because we've experienced it. Maybe I have, but it's beside the point.
I haven't, so I can't say.
But you see that these girls are just young girls, which is what they should be acting as. But I just didn't feel like, I just felt like everything was just going so fast for those three girls, with Cassie, them not understanding anything to the end where I really don't think they understand anything at all. Like Cassie's like, oh, I can see stuff. Just trust me. You know what I mean? I'm like, is that it? I was like, to me, it should have been a trilogy. It should have been a trilogy of understanding each of these girls and how important they are to the story, unless they are not. I don't even know their names.
What they're like,
or their web slinger name
Spider.
is.
Yeah. That's a good point. And because there was definitely a part of me that's like, because welcome to Marvel, where there are trillions of different universes, and we don't know which one we're in anymore because it's all freaking convoluted, right? So I'm sitting there going, is this on the same timelines, like same universe as Homecoming, right? Because it makes sense. When I first saw Ben, I was like, this is Ben Parker. He's too young to be Ben Parker. What the heck is going on? Right. But then I thought about Homecoming and how Auntie May was kind of a younger Auntie May. She wasn't the old lady from the cartoons, or even from I forgot Toby Maguire.
Yeah.
His version, like that Auntie May was really old, right? I'm sorry to say really old. That's messed up of me to say, but she was like in her like 70s or 80s or something. But Auntie May in the Tom Holland version, right? The Homecoming is like maybe 40s, 50s, maybe 50s, I would say.
Yeah.
Right? She's not an older one. So seeing Ben at first, I was like, how could this be Ben? This doesn't make sense. He's too young. But then if you think about it, it's 2013. Mary is just pregnant. She's about to have her baby.
Mm-hmm.
If you count 15 years from 2013, it is when Homecoming comes out as a movie. So yeah, look up when the movie came out and count 15 years, and it is the time frame falls in it. And so I'm like, okay, you know what? This could be the right Ben, like age wise, because Auntie May isn't that old. So it means Ben couldn't have been that old either when Peter Parker came to live with them and whatever. Mm-hmm. So it works out. But
hold on.
Yes.
Sorry. You know what? Let you finish first. Go ahead.
So my process is going, it's like these web slingers existed before Spider-Man existed, but nobody knew that they existed. Doesn't make sense to me. So are we in an alternate universe and where these web slingers do exist and Spider-Man then comes later, but people already know? Well, granted, nobody knows about these web slingers yet, right? Because they haven't even become web slingers yet. They haven't even been bitten by the spider yet to get their powers, right? It's just a vision that Cassie has of them being, or actually of Ezekiel having, right? So we just know that they're going to become, but where does that fall with Peter Parker? Because as far as we know, Peter Parker is the first web slinger.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
as far as we know.
But what were you going to say? Hold on.
I was going to say that it couldn't be in the same universe because Ben and May, or Aunt May, shouldn't have passed away.
Aunt May isn't passed away yet.
No, but she will. You know what I mean? Like she will in Tom Holland. universe.
Oh.
She will, and she's the one that gives him the speech of the because I don't think they ever bring up his uncle Ben.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
So
that's
he dies before Peter even gets his powers.
yeah, or if he's even in her life, I don't because she's not May's kid. You know what I mean? That was the one thing. I was just like, where was Uncle Ben? And and then when the third movie happened, right? They all talked about my Uncle Ben. My Uncle Ben died. Tom just like, who? You know? And then that's when he finds out that I guess Aunt May is the one. And
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. So that's interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting. I still want to say they're part of the same universe, except for the web slingers. What's throwing me off are the three of them being web slingers. But it still would make sense that he died either before Aunt May got Peter Parker, because why would Mary and Richard give guardianship to Aunt May when she's not related to them? Right. They would have to give it to Ben, because Ben is the brother, right?
Yeah.
So it must have been that they did get married. Either Ben dies before Richard and Mary die, or he dies when Peter is very, very young, like still an infant or a very like a toddler or something, and doesn't remember Peter. Or I mean, sorry, Ben. So that's what I think. Anybody out there who might know, let me know. Let us know, because I want to know.
Oh, so when I watched the movie, I rented it on YouTube, and if you watch it,
I've never rented anything on YouTube.
If you watch it on YouTube, and you see Ezekiel talking to Amaria, the spy technician lady that she's with, his voice gets overdubbed.
Yep, it happens often,
but
it happens to Dakota as well.
Oh, really? In the movie? Oh, I didn't realize. Okay, so like a lot of stuff was taken out and then put back in, and you can see the mouth still moving in the different pattern. And I'm like,
yeah.
I had to go back. I was like, yo, but if you're saying it happened to others, then oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, there was quite a few scenes that were like either dubbed over, like it came like out of sync with the pictures, and I'm like, is it just me or is it what? But I caught it a few times with Cassie's parts, and yeah, Ezekiel had it. I was just like, what the heck is going on? Is it? For a moment I thought it was there was like a buffering issue with the because we watched it on, I think we Apple TV maybe or Mac. I think it was Apple TV, but there was like a buffer. I thought it was a buffering issue. I was like, oh, maybe it just like got out of sync for a second and then got back. But I was talking to my brother and he said, did you love all the parts where everything was out of sync? And I'm like, oh, so it did happen. And that was crazy. Yeah. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, and I think that was one of the complaints that people made. It's like, what the heck? Like the movie definitely felt rushed. Like they were just trying to let's get it out.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, there were definitely parts that were just like, what the heck is going on? And I will say though, I thought it was better than Morbius. Morbius was horrible.
I still haven't seen that. I meant to watch that too, because I believe it's also in the Spiderverse, right? He's in the Spiderverse. Yeah. So I should definitely check it out. Yeah, no, I didn't think it was all that bad. I just thought that the characters were flat. They were too empty to me. Like the death of O'Neill didn't hit, and it should have. I think. I was just like, who is this person to her? Like, is this a person important? Why do you have to die? And the girls, I guess, maybe I'm being a little bit too nitpicky on them because they were definitely teenage girls, So, so it's whatever.
I don't think they were that bad. I thought, I do agree. They were kind of like flat in their characters, just like, like they try to raise
writers.
But I will say that a lot of people's complaint was it wasn't the actors' fault. They were just giving crappy scripts.
Yeah.
And I have to agree. I think it wasn't the actors themselves, because
no, I want to say that. Yeah.
Although some people will say Dakota's not a very good actor, I thought she did much better in this movie than she's done in some of their other films. Like,
oh really?
I never watched 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, me neither.
But I hear that it was it's kind of like what's her name from Twilight? It's like it was the same acting. Yeah. It was like the same acting. Like it's nothing special about her, right? But I thought Dakota did a great job in this personally. But I do think the writing behind her character was kind of like flat. I will say though, if there was anybody who did not do a good job, in my opinion, is Taharam. Is that how you say his name?
Tahara Rahim? You mean Ezekiel?
The Ezekiel. Yeah. His I don't think his acting was great at all. I was like, man, that his was the worst. Mm-hmm. Like, definitely B-rated movie kind of situation going on there. And then also his character was just like, you could have had such a dope character with him, but it was like, oh, I was treated better when I was younger, and now I don't trust nobody, and that's why I kill everybody. It's like, what kind of nonsense is that? And he's just killing everybody. Like, he has no like incognito kind of like a spy. Oh, I'm going to kill in secret. No, he's just like, oh, kill you. I don't care who sees me. I'll kill everybody because I have a mask on and nobody's going to ever catch me. I'm like, really? That his character was horrible. I do agree with people's criticism of him. His character was the worst and his acting wasn't the best.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's in any other stuff. I will say that even really great actors, when you're given a really bad script, will come out looking like they did not act very well. I have seen some fantastic actors who have played in other roles, and I'm just like, boy, that was really bad. But it's not because of the actor. It was just the script itself was so bad that the actor couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you're just left with, well, this is all I got. Sorry.
This is it.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I didn't think it was bad. How did you like her whole like time shifting or time shifting ability? Like you know how sometimes she was talking to Ezekiel in the cafe, but she wasn't actually talking to him. It was like an alternate version of him, and she got all this information from him.
Yeah,
you know, it's like, did you really talk to him, or was this not like, was this just like a vision that it was very confusing.
It was a little confusing on that. To be honest, I really didn't understand what was going on. I just knew that she was kind of clairvoyant at this point. But the dialogue between the two, I was just like, how is this happening exactly? Is he the one having the vision and she jumped into it? Because she can't do what he does. She can't see. She can't only see the future, but she can also see the past, right?
She can see everything. Yeah. She can through all time, and right? So, that's her ability.
Yeah. And so it was just a little strange to see that. And then she got whatever information he was giving her. And then she was also able to go into the past to see the mom and the reasons why.
And why she
And I'm just like, I was like, that's cool.
That was that was probably the best part of the whole thing, realizing the mom's reason. Because I do agree with you. But when I saw she was like 9 months pregnant in the middle of the jungle work, I'm like, why are you? Do you hate your daughter that much? Why did you even have her to begin with? This was super weird. But then you see why she's there, and you're like, that whole like full circle situation. I was like, okay, really good. That was probably the best part of the writing of the
and that's why I was saying that the mom had the best character arc. Like, you just like, what's she doing out there? Of course, it's dangerous. And then you see why she was out there. I was like, okay, cool. So she had that. We all see her. Then we have Cassie, who's drawing a picture that we also see with her. And then you see the real. So it's not Cassie that's growing. It's the mom that's growing. She grew her character without having to be on the screen for more than 20 minutes. And I'm just all like, wow. And I'm like, that's cool. That's an anime. That's an anime twist if I've ever seen one. But I mean, it could also be from books. So.
No, I agree. I thought her character did the best job of that. Oh, wow, that's cool. Okay, so I just to backtrack a little, the reason why I bring up the cafe scene of Ezekiel with Cassie, because it's like, okay, Ezekiel, every time Cassie goes back in time to reset that whatever fighting scene or whatever's happening, Ezekiel doesn't have any memory of it, right? Because the whole time he's just like, what's going on? How do they always know where I'm going to be or how I'm going to do? Like, he's very confused of how everything is working. Mm-hmm. So he has no idea of her telepath or her clairvoyance / time traveling abilities, right?
Right.
But this is why I say that. And I'm sure this is bad writing. Now, you can if you have a better reason, let me know. But in that scene where they're talking in the cafe, and he pretty much explains to her, it's like, he was talking about her mom, and all this stuff, and like why he's doing all this. He shows himself to her. Now, is it a vision of hers, alternate universes or alternate, positions that she is now gathered and brought back to the past, which means he would not remember them at all.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, later on in the movie, when they're fighting at the firework factory or whatever, he makes the statement of, I warned you, I told you about this, and you should have joined me. He pretty much implies that everything that he told her, he remembers. So how do you remember it if she went back in time before you ever spoke with him? So there was like that point. I'm like, this is a plot hole problem. There's a defect in your thing, because you just made a statement that you spoke with her, which they never spoke to each other other than in the cafe. They never had a conversation. And he then was telling her how he already spoke to her about being on her side, and this is why your mother died and all this. It's like, you're making a statement on something that you shouldn't remember anymore. Just throwing it out there. The writers missed that part of the writing of the story. I was like, this is very confusing. They must have confused themselves.
I didn't think about that. I didn't think that he wouldn't remember after that talk, because she jumped into his vision, I thought.
No. She didn't jump into nobody's vision. She drove to the cafe. Mm-hmm. And then once she was in the cafe, the same thing that happened with O'Neill, where like it was like things were changing from one alternate universe to a different alternate. He was there, right? Mm-hmm. So they were having a conversation with each other. But then she went back in time to before she left to go to the cafe in the hotel. So if that was the case, then that whole scene of her talking with him in the cafe would never happen.
Oh, she went that far back? I thought she got them out of the cafe.
No. She got him out of the cafe. They went to the hotel to lay low, right? Then she drove by herself to the cafe at night. Yeah. They were sleeping in the bedroom. Yeah. She drove to the cafe. There, she drove to the cafe. Then she has like the whole the breaking of the fragments of time or whatever, and has a conversation with him. And then she goes she rewinds time back to before she left to go to the cafe in the hotel after they left the cafe the first time. Oh. I know it's confusing.
I thought Ben had something to do with that, but no, Ben grabbed them from the hotel.
After.
Yeah.
After, in the morning, yeah. So you see how that, then he shouldn't have no memory. I'm talking about Ezekiel, shouldn't have no memory of their conversation. But later, when they're in the fireworks factory, he has memories of that conversation. Doesn't make sense, because he never remembers any of the other encounters with her where he kills her like 15 times.
Oh, right.
He doesn't remember any of those. So that's one of those things I'm just like, yeah, you dropped the ball on that one, didn't you?
Yeah. I didn't even realize. That's a good find. I mean, if anybody has anything to say, go on the YouTube. If you're watching the YouTube, go ahead.
Let me know.
Be like,
am I wrong? Am I wrong in thinking that?
Or if it's like, I thought so too. Write that too.
Please, because I need some confirmation.
Yes. But yeah, I wouldn't say that Madam Web was all that bad. I mean, as bad as the people. I thought it was like what was it? House of the Dead, that old 2000 movie. If you guys ever watched that looked like a movie that was on a budget of like $1 million, or not even that, maybe like $500,000, and it just looked incredibly cheesy. It was based off of the video game House of the Dead. Check it out if you guys haven't. It's weird, but it was made. And that's what I was expecting from Madam Web, and I didn't get that. I thought it was going to be super low budget, but I was like, it's impossible. It's a Marvel movie. You can't get wrong with that. And so, I don't know. I think that it was fine. Do you have any other things to mention? Because I other than the flat characters was really my issue with the entire.
No, I don't think so. I think honestly, it was better than I thought. It wasn't the best thing that I've watched, but I do, like I said, I think it was definitely better than Morbius. I think a lot of people were upset that there was no web slinger other than that vision that Ezekiel had of them. Mm-hmm. That was it, really. And I think the people were kind of disappointed. It's like, oh, there's no Spider-Man kind of feel to this. Mm-hmm. So, because I remember seeing some comments of people saying that like they're liking their costume for 2 seconds and that's it. I think that's true. But this is like the origin of these characters, right? So that it makes sense that they don't have their whole costume setup ready to go. I think honestly, I think the actors did the best they could with what they were. Yeah. they were handed.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is more an L, as the young folks say. I don't know if they still say that. On the writer's part, and we could even say the director's part, and not so much on the actor's part. I think they did pretty good for what they were having, and like I think Dakota did a pretty good job. There were definitely some really good scenes of her with the teenagers, where like she was like, you know, being sarcastic with them and whatnot. I'm like, oh, that's funny. That was some good stuff. Yeah, if I would give it to a grade, if you would let me, you know, I give it like maybe a C. I give it a C. I don't think it was horrible. I don't think it was great. If I give Morbius a higher grade, I give it an F now. I don't think I gave Morbius a high grade because it was all in black because you couldn't see anything. It was just dark all the time in that movie.
You turned it on. I was like, that's messed up. Nah.
It might as well have not. But yeah, I give it a C. How about you?
For this movie, I would give it a C minus. The lack of caring for O'Neill when he died, I was like, I should feel bad. Not because I'm a big fan of Mike Epps, but I was like, why did he have to die? I was just like,
why?
Who is he?
She could have saved
him. Was Mike Epps really hired just to be like a scapegoat for her character arc?
Yep.
I'm like,
yep, exactly.
Why him? Like, he hasn't really shown any kind of foundation with her and him in it. But C minus is what it is. That's what it gets. I mean, it wasn't a good movie. It wasn't a good movie, I think, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible.
Would I watch it again?
I was expecting much worse.
Yeah, I should have watched it at the AMC theaters because I have an A-list where I don't have to pay. I mean, I pay monthly, but still, like, I pay what I pay monthly for just me watching that one show on a Monday. Freaking wild for you guys, for the listener. Yes, and that's
be happy with it.
Be happy, please, because it was expensive. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this episode. Don't forget to follow us on IG, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. You can also catch us on YouTube, where all of our content is at. Also, please leave a review, for it will help this podcast grow. Join us on our community on Discord. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us. And don't forget, turn it to 11.
Excuses.